to Allah.
Student minister, Demetric.
Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God except that Allah is God. I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. We give to Allah praise and thanks for his grace, for his mercy, for his goodness to us. We thank Allah over and over again for his divine and his merciful intervention into our affairs, having appeared to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. We thank him for his coming, and we thank him for his wise choice of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to be a divine leader, teacher, and guide for us, a man who has grown into being more than just the messenger of Allah, but we see him today in the beautiful and illuminating light of Scripture, being alerted to his divine identity as the messenger Messiah and exalted Christ.
Yes, sir.
We thank Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we could not know of the honorable Elijah Muhammad. We would be ignorant of him. Most of us would not be admiring him. We wouldn't love him, and we certainly would not have chosen to build our lives using his word and his wisdom as a foundation for our life if it was not for Allah blessing us in this very critical period of time in the world with a man who became the best student and the best helper of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, a man whom the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, brother, I am making you to take my place among the people. So we thank Allah for his anointed servant and Messiah among us, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Beloved brothers and sisters, allow me to greet you in the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm fine, giving praise and thanks to Allah. We thank Allah for the privilege and the opportunity for being with you today. Let's give all of those that spoke before us a round of applause. We're very grateful and happy to be here and to be able to share, hopefully, a message that will be informative and edifying and uplifting, and above all, strengthening of our faith.
Yes, sir.
So as you see, our subject today is evidence strengthens faith in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Come on.
Now, we are one day on the other side of October 7th. But y'all know in this world, I've seen people, they celebrate their birthday for an entire month. And they haven't done much of anything of significance or consequence.
Yes, sir.
Fact about it, in the Nation of Islam, we don't really celebrate birthdays as such. However, we are always appreciative to Allah, and we express our gratitude to Allah for our mother and our father for being the vessels and the agents through which Allah gave to us our physical birth. But October the 7th is the recognized birth anniversary of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I didn't feel that it would be proper necessarily to go into any other kind of subject without pausing for this special occasion to just talk about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and his value, his importance, his impact, and to show that you and I who believe in him, each and every day our faith is being confirmed. Each and every day it appears that time and circumstances have collaborated into a grand conspiracy to vindicate the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Sir.
So we want to talk about this wonderful man today, and we want to talk about what he brought to us and why even in the year 2023, as we are celebrating the 126th birth anniversary of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, what he taught decades ago is more relevant, more important, more applicable to black people today than it ever was before.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever, and I'm happy to see some young faces here today. I know when I was much younger, I don't consider myself no old man, so don't put me in the closet in no mothballs.
Yes, sir.
But when I was younger, sometimes I didn't understand what my parents were trying to tell me.
Really?
And I often disagreed with my parents. But as time and circumstances, again, they conspired together to vindicate the wisdom that my parents tried to give me when I was much younger and I was not really paying them too much attention. So we today as a people are living in a period of time that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have warned us of. Now, a warning is meant to cause the listener of the warning to avoid some dangerous outcome. But if you don't take heed to the warning and you enter into and you are experiencing the dangerous outcome that you were warned against, well, that's a perilous situation. Perhaps that's why Paul talks about in the New Testament, and in the last days, perilous times shall come. We are in a perilous period of time.
That's right.
We are almost 60 years into what this great social experiment called integration has commenced. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad told our people that integration is a hypocritical trick meant to deceive the so-called American Negroes.
That's right.
And now you would think almost 6 decades into integration, we would not have to be talking about police killing unarmed black men and women.
That's right.
We would not have to be talking about the widening wealth gap between whites and blacks. You wouldn't see at the top of every list of disease and health conditions, black people are number one. You wouldn't think that 6 decades into integration that we would have jails and prisons filling up with young black men. We were told that integration would solve it all. See, the problem is we're separated and we just need to go and live among our slave masters and their children and everything will be all right. But now 6 decades in, not only do we suffer from the problems we had before integration, but we have more problems on top of that. Under so-called segregation, we had thriving black communities, thriving black businesses. And since we were forced to live and stay with one another, the poor black brother or sister lived on the same street as the professional black brother or sister. So that meant that the children of the poor man and woman lived in the same neighborhood as the professional man and woman. So if his mom and dad were poor, he could look a few houses down and be motivated and inspired to discipline himself and outgrow the poverty of his own household. But when integration came, the professional class of our people could now live among white people, and they moved into the suburbs. And since we only could spend our money with black businesses, once integration started, We could now go and shop at white stores, white businesses, go to white schools. Even though they did not want us there, they recognized that we represented an economic boom for them. See? So I am making this case today that we need a serious reappraisal of the message of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad by all pastors, by all politicians, by all professionals, by all celebrities, by all entertainers, by anyone that's in leadership in Black America. So I'm starting with the end. And if you were blessed to get this week's edition of the Final Call newspaper, you will see that aspects of this message today are taken from the article that we had published as a part of the cover story tribute to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where we talk about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's wisdom mean the keys to wealth and power if we would use them. And in the article, you'll see how we prove that and bring the evidence of the rightness of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's message, because it is evidence that strengthens faith. Faith, when it is revealed by Allah through what he gives to prophets and messengers, it inspires faith in the heart of the believers. There are aspects of the message that are self-evident, but there are other aspects of what Allah reveals that sound to the ear to be new, almost incredulous. In other words, Allah's prophets and messengers teach to the people a word, some of it is familiar, but much of it is unfamiliar. So those who come to faith at that period of time, they come because faith has been inspired in their heart. But in the Holy Quran, Allah says in the 24th surah, Allah has promised to those of you who believe and do good that he will surely make them rulers in the earth as he made those before them, and that he will surely establish for them their religion, which he has chosen for them, and that he will surely give them security in exchange after their fear. They will serve me, not associated or anything with me, and whoever is ungrateful after this, these are the transgressors. We focus our attention on this aspect of the ayah, and he will establish for them their religion. We're reading an English translation. It comes to us out of the Quranic Arabic. And this particular phrase, wale yuma kenana, and that he will surely establish. This word wale yuma kenana comes from an Arabic root word, makuna, which means to be strong, to have power, to hold high rank or authority, to be influential. So Allah is saying that I'm going to make what you believe in, I'm going to strengthen it. I'm going to cause those who believe in it to rise to a level of high rank and authority and become influential in the society. In English, the word establish means to make stable, to make firm, to prove, to demonstrate, to set up as in a government, a nation, a business, etc. To set up as in a precedent, a theory, or a reputation, etc., permanently. To cause to be accepted and recognized. Wow. So Allah is saying to those who have come to faith I'm going to establish what you now believe that everyone else don't yet believe. But I'm going to prove it. I'm going to make it accepted. And then those of you who believe, if you hold on to your faith and you apply the principles of your faith, you will be elevated to positions of authority and influence in the very society where once upon a time you were mocked and ridiculed. Now, part of the process, see, because it's not enough to know that God's going to do this. But the question becomes, how will he do it? Well, the Quran gives us a particular relationship to consider. It is the relationship between Moses and Aaron. Moses is the most discussed prophet throughout the entire Holy Quran. That's significant for us because Moses is known for being that servant of Allah who had to deal with freeing a people who were enslaved. Moses then, in the terms of the prophetic community, he's the liberator of the enslaved. But he at a certain point asked Allah for a helper. How many of us know it ain't nothing wrong to ask for help?
That's right. Needed.
That's right.
Needed.
Ain't nothing wrong
That's right.
with asking for help.
That's right.
But the believing men and women should first go to God
That's right.
and ask for help.
That's right.
And Lord knows if Moses could ask, I can ask.
That's right.
I like the story of Moses and Aaron because it is one of several important prophetic relationships that help me to better understand the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is one of my favorite pictures of these two because in it, there is something of a, I would say, prophetic or foreshadowing, foretelling dimension to it. Because you see the minister in the role as assisting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the delivery of his message. So he's holding or repositioning the microphone for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it is the job of the microphone to amplify the voice of the speaker. Now, y'all know I'm teaching.
Go ahead.
You can bear witness
Go
to the
ahead.
truth.
Yes, sir.
Because for 40 plus years, you know that it has been the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan who has been a literal microphone amplifying the voice of his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
But what you may or may not have an appreciation for is this relationship that you and I can bear witness to in our lifetime was foretold in Scripture. Look at Moses' prayer to Allah. And my brother Aaron, he is more eloquent in speech than I. So send him with me as a helper to confirm me. Surely I fear that they would reject me. He said, we will strengthen thine arm, Musa, Moses, with thy brother Aaron. And we will give you both an authority, so that they shall not reach you. With our signs, you too, and those who follow you will triumph. So let's check the scene. Musa, who many of the scholars talk about his speech impediment. He was concerned that going before the masses of the people and going before Pharaoh, that would interfere with them understanding the message that he had to deliver from Allah. So Aaron, he said, he's more eloquent. But Aaron, we also see, was requested to be a confirmer. of what Allah had revealed to Musa or Moses. Now, this is tied to the 24th surah, the 55th ayat, where Allah says he will establish for the believers their religion. We see it here in the context of a problem of enslaved people who had been slaves for 400 years and whom the time had come for them to be delivered. So Allah raised up Moses, called in Arabic Musa. And Musa, at a certain point of working on his own with the help of Allah, he asked Allah, Allah, why don't you give me my brother Aaron to help me and to confirm what you have given to me? Now this word, again, we got to go to school for a minute. The word confirm here is yusadikuni, who will confirm me. It derives from this root word sadaka, which means to be truthful, sincere, to speak the truth, to establish or confirm the truth of what another has said, to verify, keep faith, observe a promise faithfully, fulfill, speak veraciously, hold anyone as trustworthy. The English word confirm means to make firm, to strengthen, establish, encourage, to prove the truth of, validity or authenticity of, to verify, to confirm is to establish as true that which was doubtful or uncertain. Now I know I got some Amazon shoppers in here.
That's right. Go ahead.
Some of y'all know the Amazon driver by his first and last name. He come to your house every day. But after you order on Amazon, you get that little adrenaline rush as you go through your little retail therapy exercise.
Yeah.
But then you get a confirmation. That means that I wasn't dreaming. I did order that stuff on Amazon late last night. I thought it was a dream. I didn't realize I spent $500. So when something is ordered or something is requested or something is scheduled, you receive a confirmation. That's the proof that a transaction took place.
That's right.
That's the proof of the truth of what you did. So faith in the Western philosophical approach to knowledge, faith is put over here and knowledge is put over here. So in the history of the Western Hemisphere, meaning Europe and America, knowledge and faith were always at polar opposites of one another. In other words, there was a great problem between scientists and religious teachers. Because religion under Christianity maintained some very unscientific beliefs. You know, like hell being under your feet in the center of the earth, and it's hotter than the sun. You and I walking around on the earth and we don't feel no fire on our feet. Like Jesus died on the cross on Friday and rose on Sunday, and somehow that's 3 days. So science and religion under Christianity have found one another to be difficult to get along in peace. Fact about it, I don't remember which one of the great European scientists it was. It may have been Galileo. But in his scientific experiments, he proved that the earth was round And that instead of the sun revolving around the earth, which is what the church believed at that time, Galileo proved scientifically that the earth and the other 9 planets travel around the sun. Well, the Pope in the Catholic Church said, well, you either recant or we kill you as a heretic. So science and faith sometimes in the history have been enemies. But what's powerful about Islam, Islam always had this marriage where faith and science went together. And if you study the history of Islam's expansion out of Arabia and going all over the world, you know that the early Muslims read the word of Allah in the Holy Quran. And they used that word as a guide to scientific exploration, experimentation, and the discovery and the production of solutions to the problems of the people. So in Islam, science and faith have a harmonious relationship in the history.
Yes, sir.
It was only when the Muslim world began to deviate from the path of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that you see scientific supremacy in the Western Hemisphere. So now the West, they have space programs, they have nuclear weapons, they developed the internet. I read one study where it said when you look at scientific research papers coming out of the Muslim world, there are hardly any. Most of it comes from Europe and America and Asia. Because when you leave and deviate from the path of Allah, He does not permit you to enjoy the kind of success that you would have enjoyed had you stayed on the straight path.
That's right.
Allah says in the Holy Quran that Allah don't go around micromanaging your life and punishing people for their sins.
Yes, sir.
But you have to understand the manner in which He has created the universe.
Yes, sir.
He's created the universe to reward and to favor certain practices,
Yes, sir.
a certain way of life.
Come on.
You see it in the animal kingdom. You see it in nature.
That's right.
Every creature that obeys the nature in which it was created enjoys peace,
Yes,
enjoys harmony with other living things, doesn't have to suffer. You know, this is a society that sometimes they treat animals better than they treat black people. I mean, I'm a firm believer that America loves dogs more than they love black folk.
I agree. Yes, sir.
Because in all of these famous killings,
Yes, sir.
where you see police killing unarmed black men and then they don't have to be held accountable, I just imagine if they had treated a dog that way. They would, as my grandfather used to say, son, they're going to throw him under the jail. That's the way they would be treated. But if you look at pets, do you find it interesting? You never hear anybody talk about their dog suffering from depression. You know, we had to put old Fido on bipolar meds. I have to take him to the vet. You know, he had to go get psychotropic meds every week. They don't have a place where the dogs have to go lay on a couch and get their head examined. Isn't that interesting? But and they live among humans that do.
That's right.
Why is man be troubled? Why is woman be troubled in their mind, yet the creatures aren't? The snakes aren't. The birds aren't. Fact about it, Allah references in the Quran that birds have their own mode of prayer. And I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan describe how in the vulture culture, not culture, vulture, but vulture culture. And Lord knows there are some culture vultures.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's a subject for another time.
That's right.
But they say that, we see roadkill on the highway and we try to drive around and we don't want a dead dog, a dead possum, a dead skunk on our nice car. But the vulture is somewhere and he sees, oh, it's dinner time.
That's right.
And he comes in, he's called a carrion eater. And he feasts on the dead body of other animals. And the minister said, if you study vulture culture, after they've consumed their meal, they turn to the east and they flap their wings as an expression of gratitude to Allah. Because the creatures, they live in harmony with their nature. They're not in deviation. And when you study them closely, you see they acknowledge their creator. We kill and we kill for no reason. Animals kill to eat.
That's right.
And they don't kill no more. They don't have homicide in the jungle.
No, sir.
I mean, they're animals that eat other animals.
That's right.
But it ain't called homicide.
No, sir.
It's their nature to do it.
Yes, sir.
And they live in a harmonious ecosystem with other creatures. The challenge with the human condition today is to bring us back to our true nature, because as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan have been teaching us, when you look at black people today, you might be tempted to condemn us, to judge us, to mock us, to ridicule us. But if you really understood what you're really looking at, you'd have a heart filled with compassion.
That's right.
Because
Yes,
you're
sir.
looking at a
Come
people
on.
who are just other than themselves.
Wow.
Sometimes we are like that in a small way. Some folk get up in the morning and if you try to talk to them before they had their coffee, they growl at you. Rawr.
Yes, sir. I hear no more.
I seen somebody, they put up a sign, do not talk to me until after I've had my coffee. Because he's saying I'm not myself yet.
Yes, sir.
So if I'm not myself, then your interaction with me is going to be problematic. Sparks going to fly. It might be a toxic exchange because I'm not myself. Or if someone is sick, see, he say, oh, don't pay him no mind. He's not himself today. See, so that's a perfect description that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad gave of us. See, he begs our pardon. See, this is a man that as you learn of him, you get a chance to see that everything that he did for us was motivated out of his love for us. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Now, the ministry of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if you look at how the minister began the rebuilding of the nation, in 1975, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed from us. And in September of 1977, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stood to rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so many people were hoping that he would rush back into business and economic development. I mean, people were excited. We're getting ready to see the farmland, the trucks, the businesses, and all of this, the money that was being generated. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan understood that we had all of that before, but we had not become rooted in the word or the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So a storm came and all of that crumbled. So the minister began to focus on proving, establishing, confirming, defending, providing evidence of the truth of the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See? How many of us know if you build a house on a weak foundation, that house is not going to stand?
Yes, sir.
So the minister wanted to establish a firm foundation.
Yes, Thank you, Lord. Yes.
He wanted to ensure before he got involved in economics, before he got involved in politics, before he got involved in all of the trappings of what attend to the growth and development of a nation, that we were spiritually rooted in the foundation of the nation, which is the divinely revealed message from Allah to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So his ministry has been like what Moses when he prayed to Allah for Aaron. I call it the ministry of the confirmation of the revelation. Because in the wake of Minister Farrakhan's ministry, we now can witness and behold that proofs and evidences and witness bearers to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad are emerging almost daily. If you're paying attention.
Yes, sir. That's right.
See? If you're not asleep to what's taking place. Allah is orchestrating a divine conspiracy of time and circumstances, using people, places, events to do research, to do experimentation, to produce findings and conclusions. And we say, oh, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that decades ago. You mean y'all just now finding out about this thing called intermittent fasting?
Come on.
The founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, became famous for eating what they call the OMAD diet. I said, OMAD diet, what is that? They say, oh, brother, that stands for 1 meal a day.
That's right.
See? I said, well, why don't the man just go ahead on and say, I'm eating 1 meal a day, and yes, I'm white. Yes, I'm a billionaire, but I bought this book for $5 that Elijah Muhammad has on the front cover of it from Allah God in person.
That's right. That's right.
And my health has been preserved. My life has been saved. But he don't want to give the credit where credit is due. So he said, yes, I'm on this new intermittent fasting. It's called OMAD diet. Really? And there are seminars and symposiums where they teach intermittent fasting. Caloric restriction is another fancy term they're using for it. I read one day some years ago they had a symposium at Harvard University teaching caloric restriction dieting. And it was a $5,000 fee to register for that symposium. And yet the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had been giving it to black people for 90 plus years for free.
That's right.
See? So his message is being confirmed. And I don't know about you, but every time I see the message being more and more confirmed, my faith is strengthened.
Yes, sir.
I can't let go.
Yes, sir.
I can't turn loose the handle of Allah that is in Muhammad's message.
That's right.
So,
Too deep. Yes, sir.
yeah, that's right, brother. In too deep.
Sir. Thank you.
Now, if you don't have this book,
That's right.
you should get it.
Yes, sir.
In fact, buy one for yourself and a friend. Make it like Lay's potato chips used to say. You can't have just one.
That's right.
Now, Lay's was saying that we didn't know because they had put certain chemicals,
That's right.
additives in their potato chips, and they literally meant that. We've worked this out in the laboratory. You will not be able to eat just one. And I'm a witness bearer of
Yes,
that.
sir. I bear witness as well.
Can't eat
And
just
people.
one.
See, that's true.
But we were, if you read the article, we were talking about in the article that there was this group of professors, not a group of professors, a husband and wife team at Yale Law School. And they wrote a book about why is it in America certain groups do better than other groups. If I could talk to them, I would say, you know, you all were bringing private conversations into the public. Because in the public domain, they don't like you to talk about the fact that the Jews are doing better than other groups, or the Asians are doing better than other groups, or Nigerians are doing better than other groups. They don't want you to talk about that because they say that's race teaching. Oh, you're trying to teach hate. How is me acknowledging a reality that's staring me in the face teaching hate?
That's right.
But as I was looking at what they was in their findings, what conclusions they were drawing, I said, wow, they have went and spent money and time researching to end up drawing conclusions that defend the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his teaching to black people in America. They are proving his message to the black man and woman of America. And so they wrote this book called The Triple Package, written by the husband and wife team, Professor Amy Chua and Jed Rubenfeld. And it's intriguing that they wrote about the success of certain ethnic groups, certain religious groups, certain immigrant groups, because they themselves are part of those groups. Professor Chu is Asian, Professor Rubenfeld is Jewish. But their book is about this particular subject. Let's take a look at it, because I want to show how their research provides evidence for the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Since we are this weekend celebrating the 126th birth anniversary of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
See, I think we should look at how what he taught yesterday is being proven today, but other folk ain't giving him the credit. That's our job. It's our job to say, hey, wait a minute, professors.
Yes, sir.
You're saying the same thing
That's right.
Elijah and Farrakhan been saying for years.
That's right.
Why don't you give credit where credit is due? You're being lauded for it. You're being celebrated for it. But you condemn Muhammad and his followers for it when they began to teach it. So they said it is one of humanity's enduring mysteries why some individuals rise from unpromising origins to great heights, when so many others facing similar obstacles and with seemingly similar capabilities, they don't rise at all. This book is about the age-old question. We write it hoping that readers might come away with a better understanding of the world we live in, a world in which certain individuals and groups do strikingly better than others in terms of wealth, position, and other conventional measures. Do you know that the first thing that they identified as a common cultural trait or characteristic? They said that all of the successful groups have what they call a superiority complex. Wow. Now look at how they define that. They say this element of the triple package is the easiest to define. It is a deeply internalized belief in your group's specialness, exceptionality, or superiority. This belief can derive from widely varying sources. It can be religious, as in the case of Mormons. It can be rooted in a history about the magnificence of your people's history and civilization, as in the case of Chinese or Persians. It can be based on identity-defining social distinctions that most Americans have never even heard of, such as the descending from the priestly Brahmin caste in the case of some Indian Americans, or belonging to the famously entrepreneurial Igbo people in the case of many Nigerian immigrants. Or it could be a mixture. Says a crucial point about the superiority complex is that it is antithetical to mainstream liberal teaching. Yet every one of America's extremely successful groups fosters a belief in its own superiority. Wow. Can we say collectively, wow? Because for many years, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's message was called black supremacy. It was condemned as reverse racism.
Yes, sir.
Yet the professors say that all of the successful groups, all of the wealthy groups, the powerful groups, the strong groups, they have a belief that they are special. They have a belief that they are strong. They have a belief that they are proud, that they are mighty, that they had a glorious history. Here, none of the successful groups are called supremacists. They are allowed to practice and to operate from their belief in their group's specialness without being slandered or marginalized in society. What did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say Allah revealed to him regarding us? See, this is what groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center and these so-called groups that write about hate groups in America. They say that, the nation doesn't have a record of violence, but it's their teaching that's problematic. They teach black supremacy. See, if you stand up and teach black people the truth about who we are, because this is not some myth, this is not something made up by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. No. Even though this message makes us feel good, even though this message raises our self-esteem, even though this message lifts the burden of self-hatred from us, it's not a contrivance. It's not something that was made up. It's actually a verifiable body of knowledge. So again, I told you, in Islam, knowledge and faith, religion and science are in a harmonious relationship with one another. See? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches the original man Allah has declared as none other than the black man, the first and last maker and owner of the universe. From him came all brown, yellow, red, and white. Now it is so easy to recognize the original man, the real owner of the earth, by the history of the two, black and white. We have an unending past history of the black nation and a limited one of the white race. We find that history teaches that the earth was populated by the black nation ever since it was created. But the history of the white race doesn't take us beyond 6,000 years. And for giving us that message, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is called a black supremacist. Yet now evidence is emerging that unless a people have a positive view of who they are, that which the professors are calling a superiority complex, but that's just their terminology. See? To believe that you are who you are don't necessarily mean you believe you are superior to other people, such that you would deprive other people of freedom, justice, and equality. But it means to believe that you are not a nigger.
That's right.
It means to believe that you are not a second-class citizen.
Yes, sir.
It means to believe that you are not inferior to white people.
That's right.
And yet every institution in America seeks to reinforce the idea
That's right.
that black is inferior to white. If you go in the field of education, black is inferior to white. Even in religion, church full of black folk, picture Jesus on the wall. That's God's son, and he's white. So let's bow and worship him. In the world of beauty, the dark-skinned model don't get too much time in front of the cameras. It's the light and the white. In the banking world, they don't want you on Wall Street. Unless you're there to take out the trash, clean up the buildings. See? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's message, again, a verifiable body of knowledge, is only condemned as supremacy because it raises your view of yourself. And do you know, brother and sister, I forgot to put it in this presentation. I wanted to. But I could bring you research about children. Children who are in school, who have been studied. And children who have a knowledge of their family and their people and their culture get better grades and are better behaved in school. Children who have a knowledge of self achieve success in life. And so to show that they never want you and I to be successful, they fight and they oppose the teacher that God has raised to give to us the vitally necessary knowledge of ourselves. Because once you know yourself, you ain't interested in doing nothing but being yourself.
Yes, sir.
I've been in the Nation of Islam. Now I'm ashamed to say, registered 33 years, October 11th. All praise is due to Allah. I only raised my time and tenure in the nation to say that in all of those years, I've never been to any meeting, large or small, where I was encouraged to do harm to anyone.
No, sir.
I've never been in none of those meetings where I was taught to hate anyone.
That's right.
I've been on many and very different kinds of details. I never went on a detail to do crime, to be involved in wrongdoing or sin. In fact, about it, any of us that are found in wrongdoing and sin are dismissed from the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So it's too many of us that are alive and in the nation that are evidence
Yes, sir.
that the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not intention to cause us to hate anyone.
That's right.
No, it's a message that ends self-hatred
That's right.
and begins to stimulate that much needed self-love. How can you say, love your neighbor as yourself to a self-hating black man or woman? Because how could I love my neighbor as myself if I don't even love myself? I'm abusing my body. I won't develop my mind. I won't set a goal for my life and pursue it and achieve it. I don't have any indicators that I love myself, so I can't love you. If you tell black self-hating black people love your neighbor as yourself, that's a recipe for hate, neighbor on neighbor hatred, not neighbor on neighbor love. And yet no one is bold enough in American society to come and do the hard work of getting a self-hating people to develop love of self. Except the Honorable Elijah Muhammad
That's right.
and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They said that the second ingredient that makes successful groups successful is a perception of insecurity.
Yes, sir.
They define it as insecurity can take many different forms. A sense of being looked down on, a perception of peril. Everyone is probably insecure in one way or another, but some groups are more prone to it than others. To be an immigrant is almost by definition to be insecure. An experience of deep economic and social anxiety, not knowing whether you can earn a living or give your children a decent life. They are perceptive enough to note that there's a deep tension between a superiority complex and feelings of insecurity. It's odd to think of a people being simultaneously insecure but also convinced of their divine election or superiority. Yet this tense, unstable combination, as we'll discuss shortly, is precisely what gives the triple package its potency. Wow. See? if you get the book Message to the Black Man, in the front of the book, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is laying his theological foundation. If you notice, the book is strategically put together. You have Allah as God. You have the knowledge of self. You have Islam. You got prayer in Islam. Then when you get to the second half, you get into program and position. So he starts spiritual, then he gets into more secular things that naturally flow from the spiritual foundation. So he writes in Message to the Black Man, the persecution of the righteous and the protection of the faithful. See? So he started out saying, you're not a Negro. You're not a slave. You are the original man. Take pride in the fact that you don't descend from Noah's cursed son Ham.
That's right.
But you come directly from God.
Yes, sir.
And that God is a human being. Say, well, if he's a human being, every human being I know is some color. What color is God? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, your God is a black God.
That's right.
He is black because he began as the self-creation coming out of the dark womb of space.
Come on.
I heard Minister Farrakhan say beautifully, space, and the darkness of it became his womb. So the life emerging as a light in that darkness yet takes on the color of its environment. So we are the original people, not just because we come from Africa. See? You and I have a history before Africa, brother and sister. We are the owners of the earth. See? Africa is recent history.
Yes, sir.
50,000 years, so teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But after he lays that foundation, he comes and says, yeah, you are that, but you're under persecution now. See? So just what the scholars and the professors are saying about successful groups. See? There is this tension when you know you are the righteous, but you have to be mindful that in American society, the righteous suffer persecution. You have a real enemy that you have to be on guard against. You can't just let your hair down and think that you're in an all righteous society. You got to strive for excellence. You got to achieve your goals. You got to build yourself and your people.
Yes,
but don't you ever lose sight
Yes, sir.
of the fact that we have an enemy
Yes, right.
who persecutes us daily. And in the Nation of Islam, we are an example.
Yes, sir.
Because for all the good that the nation has done and attempted to do, over and over again, we have had to achieve good for our people against formidable and powerful opposition. And that is opposition coming from the United States government. That is opposition that has come from powerful Jewish organizations. That is opposition that have even come from the ignorant of our own people. Now, the last one they give to us, they say that successful groups have what they call impulse control. Says impulse control, as we'll use the term, impulse control refers to the ability to resist temptation. No society could exist without impulse control. And yet, just like the superiority complex, impulse control too runs powerfully against the grain of contemporary culture. The term impulse control conjures up all kinds of negative connotations. Control freaks, people who are too controlled or too controlling, people who can't be impulsive and enjoy life. Because that's the culture in America.
Yes, sir.
That's why among the youth, it's very difficult to invite them to the way of God.
Absolutely.
Because they are bombarded every day, all day with the idea that anything that would restrict my personal conduct or behavior is trying to enslave me.
Yes, sir.
So discipline, so moral conduct is given a black eye in the press. See, we have been led to believe that if you can do whatever you want to do with whoever you want to do with it, that's all right. But why do the professors say that successful groups, they don't live like that? I noticed that the most powerful cultural phenomenon of the past 50 years is hip hop culture.
Yes, sir.
Born in the Black and Latino community in the Bronx, New York. This year's hip hop's 50th anniversary, according to historians. But as time have gone on, like other forms of entertainment, black folk don't necessarily control hip hop.
Absolutely.
Hip hop is controlled by powerful white men, most of who are members of the Jewish community.
Yes, sir.
Question. Now, if I say Sexy Red, some of y'all don't know who that is, but the young ones do. If I say Sukihana, some of y'all don't know who that is, but some of y'all do. If I talk about Drake, some of y'all don't know who Drake is, but some of you do. Some of you know NLE Chopper, some of you don't. But I ask myself a question. If powerful white men control black music and hip hop, how come their daughters have not been made into a Sexy Red? How come you don't have a white version of Nicki Minaj? That's a question, isn't it? Because they are the gatekeepers. They control the art form. See? They determine who gets the record deal. They determine who will be put in front of the eyes of the public. But do you know, in the Jewish community, they teach their daughters to live a chaste life.
Yes, sir.
They teach their daughters to live a modest life, to cover their adornments.
That's right.
They teach their daughters, you do this because our people are so special that one day the Messiah will be born among us.
What they say.
And he will come as the man or the boy baby of a Jewish woman, a Jewish female. So since you might be chosen by God to give birth to the Messiah who will save all your people, girl, you got to close your knees. You can't be on the internet twerking on a pole.
Wow.
See? Because you're special.
Yes, sir.
See? But the same men that would tell their daughters that don't give a damn about you and my daughters.
That's right. That's right.
See? They create a sexually toxic image of black womanhood
Yes, sir.
that literally feeds into the human trafficking epidemic. In Cleveland, Ohio, right now, there are more than 30, I think it's 35 missing children just in the last couple of months. See, the culture promotes a view of black people. The black male is the criminal that you need to be afraid of. The black female is the easy sex object that you can take advantage of. See? But neither are worthy of your respect and admiration. So can't you see, brother and sister, why God gave to us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to give to us that which is the antidote to the poisonous ideas that American society have caused us to believe in, act upon. Well, in the Nation of Islam, we have what we call the restrictive law of Islam. Now, this is what so many of our good brothers who love us and believe in the minister, they love the teachings, and man, I'm with y'all. But I got some things I can't give up yet, Brother Muhammad. I ain't ready to join yet. I'm with you. I buy some of them final cars. I donate some money. Let me know when Farrakhan coming to town and I'll be there. But I can't come in and submit yet. It's too many things I got going on in my life, and you know, I ain't ready to give it up yet.
What they say.
I haven't developed impulse control. See? But keep on living that way, brother. We don't mind receiving your donation. We're going to take it and help build a nation.
That's right.
But you are destroying your own life if you won't bring your life under the structure of the law of God.
That's right.
See? Again, these are professors.
Yes, sir.
They did not set out to vindicate Elijah Muhammad. That was not their purpose, I guarantee it. They probably would be quite surprised to hear me using their research to defend the most honorable Elijah Muhammad on this, the 126th anniversary of his birth. All praise is due to Allah. You know, the Quran says you can tell the believers, for they are the successful ones.
That's right.
See, even though they were looking at all these other groups, they could have came and studied us. Mm-hmm. They could have studied the nation. Now, to be clear, I don't know if any of us in here is millionaires. I'm not. However, if you look at us in our condition, if you look at us in all of the indicators of success and wellness, compared to our people who are not a part of the nation, we look like a good example for our people to follow. I don't know nobody that came to the nation and said they're doing worse off than when they were before. I don't know nobody. And I know believers, Allah has blessed me to travel throughout the Nation of Islam. I have taught in almost every region. I've taught in every region except the European region. I know a lot of believers. I don't know one that said, since I joined the nation, I'm just doing bad. I'm doing so bad. I'm sick. I ain't got no money in my pocket. My dog ran off. My old woman, my lady ran off. I don't know anybody that can sing a sad song after coming to be with Muhammad.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
In fact, the opposite is true. Every believer I know points to when they accepted Islam as the deciding moment in their life, when the outcomes of their life began to become better and improved. We are not perfect.
No, sir.
We have our struggles. We have our ups and our downs, our pains and our sorrows. But we also have our victories.
Yes, sir.
I mean, look at the nation.
Yes, sir.
The most successful group among all black groups.
That's right.
Our health is better.
Come on. That's
We have respect among both friend and foe.
Yes, sir.
We have more money in our pocket because we ain't involved in the vices that we used to be involved in. We don't do drugs. We don't drink alcohol. We ain't throwing our money away at the casino.
No, sir.
We ain't got a wife and trying to have 5 girlfriends.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
We ain't got a husband and trying to have 5 boyfriends.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's nowadays you have to
Yes, sir.
both.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
That's right.
No. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through Minister Farrakhan
Yes, sir.
made us to agree to give up sin as a way of life, we began to remove things from our life that don't belong in our life. And then we began to see we started having an improvement in our life.
That's right.
And the best improvement we all enjoyed was that our mind became more creative. If you travel among the Muslims, you find every Muslim got some kind of great idea.
That's right.
Always.
See, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the evidence of the power of God in man is man and woman's creative mind. Allah in his 99 attributes is Al-Khaliq, the creator. And he has blessed each of us with a creative mind. That's why the ministers say real poverty is not the lack of money. Real poverty is the lack of the knowledge of how to get it.
That's right.
Right.
Once you begin to have a creative mind and you learn the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, see, then where other people see problems, you see opportunities.
Yes, sir.
We learn in Islam that Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam and can be proven in no limit of time. Master Far Muhammad gave to us what is described as a mathematical theology. What does that mean? It means it's a logical, rational, and reasonable understanding of the knowledge of God. One day I was with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I had written him about the need for greater pastoral care among the believers. And he was reacting to what I wrote, and he told me that he liked it and he agreed with it. And then he began to tell me a story about his own life. He said, brother, when I was the minister in New York, I would pick a day out of the week where I would allow the believers to come to me at my office at the mosque. And this was a day where I would sit and listen to the believers tell me about their problems. And he said, sometimes, brother, the weight of their problems was so heavy, I could hardly get up from my desk at the end of the day. Because the minister is a very emotionally sensitive man. You begin to tell the minister about your pain, he starts feeling your pain. So he said that he went and he told the Honorable Elijah Muhammad what he was doing to help the believers. And he said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, brother, I did not send you to New York to do that. I sent you to New York to teach Islam. He said, and if you teach Islam properly, you teach the believers how, no, he said, Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. And if you teach Islam properly, you teach the believers how to solve their own problems. And to this day, it remains the most profound thing I ever heard. Because whatever problem you and I have that is keeping us from being successful, think about it like a math problem. What do I need to add to be successful?
Yes, sir.
What do I need to subtract to be successful?
Yes, sir.
Do I need to multiply my efforts to be successful? Do I need to be divided from something that is negative in my life? Am I making efforts, but maybe my efforts need to be increased exponentially? Are there fractions in my life that I need to find the least common denominator to reconcile? See? Every problem in life that interferes with us being successful, see, it's a mathematical problem. And the key to solving it is to shifting our thinking. They say that if you can't change the things that you are looking at, you need to change the way you're looking at the things that won't change. Now, again, they could have looked at the nation because similar research has been done to show that the nation has produced a culture of achievement. They didn't just have to go to the Nigerians and the Cubans and the Jews and these other groups. They could have looked at the nation. This is a particular research study where they interviewed some of the young teenage sisters in the Nation of Islam, looking at how what they learned in the nation propelled them to be successful in school and successful in life, because they were given something in the mosque that protected them when they went into the world. They were given something in the mosque that helped them to be head and shoulders above their peers when they went into the world. So the proof again, the evidence that strengthens faith in Muhammad can now be easily seen today. And then I liked how the researcher here did a comparison. And this lines up with what the professors wrote in their book, The Triple Package. In the nation, we acknowledge that institutional discrimination is a pervasive factor that can impede mobility. In the world, they don't want you to acknowledge that. See? They're afraid that if you acknowledge things like systemic racism, that if you acknowledge the prevalence of white supremacy in America's institutions, that this robs you of your spirit to want to achieve. No, we have both. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan have both acknowledged that the deck is stacked against the black man and woman, but yet those of us who follow them have a drive and a spirit to achieve. Some of the most inspiring testimonies can be heard from the mouths of followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan. It doesn't make you want to become a bum.
No, sir.
Saying that, oh, the white man won't do this because I got a felony, or they won't let me do this because I got this, or I can't do that because, the white man.
That's right.
No.
No, sir. Get up.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan make us to know we are the original people.
Yes, sir.
And God, our Father, went to war against darkness just to create himself, starting from an atom rotating in triple darkness. Being alone, being by himself, he went to war against the darkness and he prevailed. In 1973 and 1975, they published these two books called The Accomplishments of the Muslims. And in it, it was just to show that the Nation of Islam had followed what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said of pooling its resources to build a nation for our people. In 1974, the National Secretary Abbas Rasul, he listed many of the achievements of the nation. At that time, among them, Muhammad's temples of Islam in more than 150 cities in North America, Bermuda, Jamaica, and Belize. Muhammad University of Islam in 46 cities. Muhammad Speaks newspaper and printing press, a multi-million-dollar complex printing the International News Weekly with a circulation of more than 850,000 copies. Cold and dry storage and warehouse facilities. Good Foods Incorporated, meat, produce, and eggs company. Chicago Lamb Packers. A cross-country trucking system. A fixed base aviation department at the Gary Municipal Airport. A cannery in Georgia. I'm not going to read them all. But again, Allah says in the Quran, the believers are successful. Now, again, something else that's different about Islam than Christianity is this. In Islam, we don't encourage the believers, well, don't worry about it. When you die, you're going to float away into heaven and you're going to get your reward. Don't worry about this life. No, no, no. See, that's slavery teaching. See, no. Allah promised us money, good homes, luxury, friendship, and all walk of life if we would submit to him and obey him in the messenger. The Quran says to the believers, you shall have your share of this world's life and the hereafter. Now, by hereafter, it ain't talking about somewhere you float to in outer space. The word hereafter is an adverb of time and place. It means here on the earth after Satan and his civilization has been removed. This is an example of success, showing how that even though the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught and teaches through Minister Farrakhan today, do for self, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad yet wrote an article called How to Get and Keep a Job. And this article talks about how people who are employers love to hire the Muslims. It says Mr. Muhammad's worst critics admit the brothers in the FOI are the most courteous, mannerly, neat, clean, intelligent, industrious, parentheses, as well as militant workers that they have ever met. It is a known fact the Muslim brother is never out of work because even Jews and Christians would rather hire him, knowing that he won't get drunk, never be rude, would always be on time, and give them a fair amount of labor for his wages. You can tell the believers they are the successful ones. One of the last points I want to make to conclude our message today, because this message is designed to make us value the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in light of our current condition as a people. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we shouldn't call one another by the N-word.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
You say, well, brother, why are you bringing up the N-word? Because we're in Memphis.
Yes, sir.
And Memphis right now has a crime problem,
Yes, we do.
a violence problem.
Yes, sir.
The new mayor was elected the other day, and crime is one of the great issues, the reduction of crime that he campaigned on. And most of the crime in this predominantly black city takes place in the black community.
That's right.
And it's not black folk killing white folk, robbing white folk, violating white folk, violating Latino folk. It's black on black.
Black on black.
And I notice that when we relate to one another, we don't relate to one another with love and respect. Black folk, by and large, nowadays relate to one another with hostility. Fact about it, I saw a brother, he got an online campaign. You know what his campaign is? That when you see a black man, speak to him and ask him how he's doing. Because, you know, brothers, we see each other passing on the street, we look the other way.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes for good reason.
Yes, right.
Because if you look and act like you know somebody, they might think you're trying to mean mug them.
Yes, sir.
Or they might think that you know something bad that they did and you're going to go and tell them folks. Y'all know who them folks is.
Yes, sir.
See? So we don't have what they call the esprit de corps, the spirit of brotherhood that dwells in the black community. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that one way to do that, to produce that, he said the greetings of Islam, where we refer to one another as brother and sister. He says that the greetings of Islam And the unity of Islam replaces Miss, Mrs., and Mr. with brother and sister. If we would only use brother and sister in our approach to each other instead of Miss, Mrs., and Mr., this alone would help unify us, because in the words brother and sister, unity is conveyed to us, bringing us closer. Brother, sister, not nigger, or as Ludacris tried to explain on Oprah that time, nigga. Oprah was challenging him, saying, why do the rappers always use the N-word? He said, well, oh, you see, Oprah, it's not nigger,
Yes, sir.
it's nigga. It's a term of endearment. Why are we the only people that try to practice that foolishness? When Michael Jackson did the song, Jew me, screw me, like me, kike me, the Jews said that that's anti-Semitic. And if you don't change the lyrics, we will come against you. You know what Mike did? He changed the lyrics. They weren't about to say, well, see, I say sometime that's my kike. They didn't say that. Because they know you can't change a word that's a racial insult into a term of endearment.
No, sir.
See? You a married man? Okay. Start try calling your wife the B word. See how that affects the love between y'all. Come here, B. B, where my dinner at? B, bring me a glass of water. See? And she said, what did you call me? Oh, babe, it's just a term of endearment. I love you. We love each other. You my B. See? Sisters, would that pass in your household? See? That wouldn't pass, now would it?
Sir.
Because the word is intended as an insult.
That's right. That's right.
It's meant to be defamatory. You and I ain't went to dictionary school to learn how to create the meanings of words. You can't just change the meaning of a word because you want to. Now, why is this teaching by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, something simple like this, so important? This is a scientific study. Look at what it's called. Because it's easier to kill that way. Dehumanizing epithets, militarized subjectivity, and American necropolitics. This writer is writing about what takes place during war. This writer says that during war, soldiers are trained to kill their enemies by using racial epithets. Let's look at some of what she says. But a key training mechanism all along has been a widely used verbal strategy to dehumanize those who need to be categorized as targets. Military epithets have included words such as slants, gooks, dinks, and zipper heads during the Vietnam War, for instance, or towel heads, hajis, even sand niggers during the global war on terror. Epithets for the enemy thus dehumanize and help create what Grossman has called psychological distance that can facilitate the act of killing. Necropolitics is the power of the sovereign state to create forms of social existence in which the vast populations are subjected to conditions of life, conferring upon them the status of the living dead. What did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say the meaning of the word Negro is? It means dead. See? Now, This is a study where they looked at music. And they didn't look at music to see what sounds good. They looked at music to study the lyrical content. See, hip-hop is a lot different nowadays. The real stars of hip-hop today are the producers. Because if you got a great producer that can produce a great beat, you ain't got the pressure to be as great a lyricist as MCs used to have years ago. You used to be able to have bars, like for real, for real.
That's right.
But nowadays, you got a lot of people that are popular, they get radio play, but they're not very good lyricists. But the beat is so hypnotic, you bobbing your head and you grooving to it before you even realize what they're actually saying.
That's right.
But this study wanted to look at what is the lyrical content. They found that the N word is used every 47 words in hip hop.
Wow.
Of all of they looked at 10,386 artists, 62,280 albums, 490,100 tracks with lyrics, and 94,839,701 words. Total N-words found 21,459. And of all of the vulgar words in hip hop, I didn't want to show y'all them other ones. I had to block them out. We are in a religious space. But number 1 and number 3 is the N-word. So when you listen to music, you hear a racial epithet over and over and over again. Guess what? It's training you like they train the soldiers in the military to make it easier for us to kill one another. She continues. She interviews certain soldiers. Said one soldier named Preston, he was left with crushing guilt about having become a killer. He says the insults of basic training laid the groundwork for doing the job. The language they heard in basic training, gooks, hooches, you dehumanize human beings. He said they still do that in training. He said the way I was trained, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be a good killer. You heard gooks, chinks, and stuff of that nature. So it just falls on your ears and you just absorb it. I was naive. It didn't register as being racist or anything at the time. You know how we say, I just like the beat. But that's how they basically get you to think of the enemy, so you don't have any problem killing them or wanting to. Unbeknownst to us, we are being programmed to kill each other just by the repeated use of the world's most infamous racial epithet, the N-word. Don't you think we should follow the way of Muhammad?
Yes, sir.
I saw somewhere they had a funeral for the N-word. I thought that was a great idea if people would be real about it.
Yes, sir.
A ceremony is one thing, but are you going to be real about it and remove it from your vocabulary, realizing that that kind of language is used to train soldiers who are going to kill their enemy? I think in 2023, on the 126th birth anniversary of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we should recommit ourselves to applying his teachings to every area of our life.
Yes, sir.
So that we might be successful. Beloved brothers and sisters, that's our time. I leave you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you, brother.
All praise is due to Allah.